Hey guys, I've been thinking about it quite a lot. What is drawing style and how can you change your drawing style? Because a lot of people don't seem to be happy with their drawing style. There's potentially a way that they can change it. So these are the different factors that I can think of for drawing style, and you know, there are loads of different factors that influence someone's drawing style, but these are the main categories, and then there's parts within them, and I'm going to try and explain all of them to you and which ones you should focus on. So the main basis one, and this is what people imagine when it comes for natural style. You know, you've never put your pencil to paper before. The first drawing you draw, this will have your natural style in it. It's your natural muscular control. Your natural muscular control. So the best example for this is your handwriting style. You can have a class of 30 different students, and all of the students will have their own distinct handwriting style, which is completely different from one another, even though they've been taught in the same class to write in a certain way. They will just naturally do it. You know, I think there's also, you know, girls seem to have a, you know, sometimes I feel like you can tell if a girl's written something rather than a guy. I don't know why that is, but maybe there's a male-female factor in there, but it's like a fingerprint or a thumbprint. Everyone's is different from one another. It's very rare that you would find the same thumbprint. You know, back in the day with signatures were used to authenticate letters, and they still are today actually. So that is part of your drawing style. It's just this mystical thing. It's I believe it's like part of your genetics. So that one's really important, and that's kind of like a foundation level one. Other ones that I could think of, cultural and environmental. Western style versus Eastern style, things like that. You know, if you're raised in a certain society, a certain culture which has certain cultural styles, you know, then that's likely to rub off on you, definitely. In fact, if you are raised only in that society, then you don't really know anything else, and it's hard to draw something in a style that's outside of that. So for an example, Aboriginal tribes. If you are living in an Aboriginal tribe, they have a certain way of, you know, dot painting. If that's all you've known, then it would be difficult to do anything but dot painting or a variation of dot painting. The other one is, recently I went to Cornwall, and there are loads of art galleries in Cornwall. Cornwall is on the south tip of the UK. In those art galleries, there's loads and loads of paintings of the coast, of seasides and stuff. You could argue that that's because tourists go there and tourists buy artwork, and tourists like to have something that they can take back to remember the sea, the coastline, but I think it's more a fact that these artists are local to Cornwall, to the Cornish coast, and that's what they see every day, and that's what they're around every day, and that's what inspires them, and it's from their environment. So they're inspired by their environment. They love the sea because they're by the sea. They were, a lot of the time, they were raised on the coast, and so they want to paint the coast, and they have nostalgic memories tied to the coast, and that's what they're inspired by. So that's kind of more in like their subject matter realm. Also, those artists might use blues a lot in their art. You know, if they wanted to go into any other kind of art, they might use the blues a lot because it's that kind of bond they have with the sea. Okay, so training and chosen methodology. So this is like art teachers, online courses, or any kind of course really. It's when you're shown a particular method to do something, and that method in itself has some characteristics in there. It's techniques learned by others. If you have a teacher or a mentor or something, you're likely to develop a similar style to them because they're telling you what's worked for them, what doesn't work for them, so you're getting their perspective on it. You've got to choose your training wisely, but I'll get more into that later. Market influence. This is a bit of a small one, it's a bit obscure. I don't know how much this is actually going to affect it. It was just an idea I had that, you know, maybe if you're making stuff for online, you might be pushed to work in digital, or if you're working as part of a studio and the studio is saying, well, you know, we have a client who wants this style because that's what's cool at the moment, so you have to make it in that style. That could be seen as a market influence. It's tied into the economy and what the economy wants. You know, 3D versus 2D, where the 2D industry is, that kind of stuff. It's all kind of tied to the market and what people are buying. And you know, the economy is a reflection of other things in society, but you know, you can tie it back to the market. Also, new platforms, things like YouTube, you know, having to adapt your artwork to be in YouTube, you might need to use a 16:9 ratio for your artwork to make it more compatible with that platform. Instagram as another example of something that's getting big at the moment. I've kind of determined that Instagram isn't for me. Or if you are an analog painter and you've got an art gallery, you know that your art is going to be put next to certain art pieces. It's going to be in a white gallery and people are going to walk in, and so that might impact the size and the size of the brushes, things like that. But it's not really going to impact your drawing style that much. It's just one of those obscure ones. Aesthetic preference. This is a big one. I've put them all kind of ranked equally, but this one is really important. So this is very simple. What do you like? What do you want? That should be a kind of that should be your compass bearing. It should point north for you all the time. What do you want your style to look like? It's a really easy one. It's really easy to like things. Because it's really easy to like things, it's really easy to have that as your bearing, and then you just need to work towards that. You need to choose, make the decision. So that's like the conscious version of aesthetic preference. But I've found that there's also a subconscious version of aesthetic preference. Conscious is making the decision. I really like this artist. I want to make my artwork a little bit more like his in this department. Maybe I like his lighting particularly, so I'm going to try and light my scene just like his. Subconscious is a little bit more tricky. It's like you're drawing a composition and for some reason you just feel it in you that you need to put a character in a certain place, or that you need to draw him a certain size. You like to draw characters with thin legs instead of fat legs. It just tickles something in you. And I think that the subconscious is partly, you know, it might partly be genetic, and it might partly be a big mashup of your subconscious, you know, and your experiences through life. It could also be linked to sexuality and your sexual preferences. That's kind of, can you imagine that, like, you know, if you like something, if you like a certain type of body type or something, that could carry its way into everything, into design and stuff. It could kind of bleed through into that. Maybe you like thin lines instead of thick lines for your typography or something, you know, that could be a factor, and that could be subconscious. So this one is, again, it's a bit arbitrary, but the time spent on each drawing, if you spend 5 seconds on a drawing, it's going to look different to if you spend 5 hours on it. But drawing style, I feel like there's going to be a style at the core of it. Adding time doesn't necessarily change a whole lot about it. It's more like kind of adding on detail, but at the same time, that detail is an element of the style. Now, if I press this, now I've gone and kind of marked them out in what I think you should take away from this, I guess. So the grey ones here, we'll start with them. So cultural, environmental, and natural muscular control. Mainly the natural muscular control. These kind of take care of themselves. You're ordained these, you're given them. Also, they kind of adapt. So if you draw a certain way, you can kind of really like drawings and certain artists' drawings and look at them every day and try and work like that. And at first you have to consciously draw them like that, but then eventually your natural muscular control will catch up to you, and will kind of, before you know it, you're kind of drawing how you want to draw. So it catches up, it adapts, luckily, so you don't need to worry about it too much. The same with cultural and environmental. If you pack up your stuff and move to Japan, everything around you is going to change, and that's going to rub off on your art, I would expect. You have to make the effort to go there, but it will, you know, it's something that will kind of take care of itself if you expose yourself to the right culture. It starts with the choice. You've got to choose to. And that's why aesthetic preference, conscious aesthetic preference is so important, because that's where the choice comes in. The blue ones are, you know, they're the ones I already mentioned. They're not that important. They're a bit arbitrary. The market influence, the reason why I put it in actually is because I was thinking that, you know, certain artists, certain very successful artists have been successful because they've taken something that was traditional and they've just put it in a new medium. In that way, you know, market influence can be quite interesting, but it's not really something it's not that important for drawing style, but it's worth considering. But changing these won't give you massive results. So if you say you're going to spend more time on each drawing, it might boost your quality a little bit, but you're not going to see massive results, and you're not going to see sustainable results. Neither are you with market influence. If your drawing's not how you like it in your style, it doesn't really matter what platform you put it on, it's still going to be that drawing, and that's not going to change that. The yellow ones are what I want to focus on. These are super important, especially aesthetic preference. Aesthetic preference is like everything in this. It's really important. So I'll start with aesthetic preference. You got to focus on it because that's the only real like power you have. It's like it's your bearing, it's your compass bearing. So if you don't have that, then you're lost. And luckily it's pretty easy to find a bearing. You just have to decide, what do you like? Sometimes it can be a bit tricky. If you have two styles that you really admire and they both kind of go out in the opposite direction, let's say you've got a scruffy style on this side, you've got a neat style on this end, it can be, and you really like both of them, and this is a problem I'm facing, it can be difficult to unite those two because they just go completely opposite from each other. You know, maybe you can find a way to have a balance of both, but it could be quite difficult. And subconscious is, it's kind of linked to cultural and environmental factors where you have to kind of just immerse yourself in what you really like. And I guess for conscious, it doesn't hurt to make the distinction of what you don't like as well, what you want to avoid. So the training and the chosen methodology, a good example that I was going to say earlier, I'm just going to say it now, a good example of that is anatomy tips. So if someone else gives you a tutorial on how to draw the pelvis or something, and they say to you the pelvis is really important and you've got to draw it with this triangle shape here, and then you use that triangle shape is going to give you a certain drawing style. It just will. It really will. If someone tells you to draw the pelvis shape as a bean, you know, the bean method, then that's going to change your drawing style. Again, they have slightly different results. Yeah, I do think that's a factor. The easiest way to hone in on what you want here, you know, link the training and chosen methodology to aesthetic preference, is just to choose a mentor who reflects the style that you're aiming for. If he can draw those things, and he does draw those things, then that should be an indication. You should just ask them for advice, see if they're a teacher or something, or, you know, when you're going to university or art school, as you might call it, look at the portfolios of the teachers and see, do they really know what they're doing, and also, is it a style that you want to be involved with? So this is what you can take away from this, I guess. So you can change your drawing style. It's very possible, because some people have asked me, is it possible? They don't even know if it's possible to change their drawing style. It absolutely is. It is hard work, and it's just, you know, it's the evolution of the artist. It's how you're going to evolve. What in art isn't hard work? Everything's hard work. So just the fact that it's hard work doesn't mean you shouldn't try and change it. If you want a series to show you what it's like, I recommend Sykra's series, the Pointy Chins series, because that's interesting, because it's his conscious effort to change his style in a way that he wants, and to make an original style that no one else has. So I found that very interesting to watch, and I'd recommend to you that you do the same. So focus on your conscious aesthetic preferences. That can be things like getting an inspiration folder and working on just opening it up every day and just looking through photos, or, you know, exchanging cool photos, or not photos, but like animations. You know, I like to watch Sakuga animations and just, you know, add them to your favorites and revisit them every now and then, and see compare yourself to them. Allow your subconscious preferences to show through in your drawing. This is if you like your subconscious preferences, you know. If you don't like your subconscious preferences, that to me indicates that you really want to go kind of like 90 to 180 degrees in your style, like completely change your style, because I don't know, subconscious preferences are kind of like a trail. I'm speaking in kind of abstract thoughts. I'll try and make it more understandable. What I'm saying is you got to give yourself a chance to allow your subconscious preferences to go to the surface. How I do this in anatomy or in composition is you just got to be very quiet and listen to those little whispers that your subconscious will tell you. It's good to also clear out any images from your head of other people, of other things for a second. Just clear it out a little bit, kind of forget them, and then it's like listen very closely. What is it saying? And it'll be a little whisper. It's a little bit to the left, a little bit to the left. Move it to the left a little bit, and then you'll be, oh, okay, and then just do it. It's very vague, you know. It's very vague, and you just got to listen very closely to that little voice in your head. And when you do, it's pretty cool. It's quite mystical, and that can be very good quick shortcut to getting an original style, because no one else told you to. It was yourself. You told yourself to do it. I feel like that is close to raw creativity, because okay, even if it is influenced by a whole slew of different things that have come together in your head, that is very creative, that you've just merged like loads of your past experiences into that voice. I hope that makes sense. Maybe it didn't. Sorry if it didn't. Learn from teachers. So pick out a few mentors, even if they're not people who teach, because there's a load of really good artists who are just good at art but they don't teach other people. Then you're going to have to teach their methods to yourself by deconstructing them. So you're going to have to do a lot of work in studying that artist, because if they don't tell you how they do it, you're going to have to find out for yourself by just, you know, the results are there, so you have to just break it down. Most of people's natural born drawing style usually comes from natural muscular control and some subconscious aesthetic preferences. So that's like where drawing style kind of originates from, the first drawing you ever make. So that's, I think, I mean, this is not like scientifically proven stuff. This is literally me speaking, you know. So disclaimer, it could be wrong, and I would actually quite like to hear what you guys think of this. Maybe I've missed out some like massive ones, I don't know. I'm sure people will talk about maybe software, you know, drawing software, and whether that helps or not, or changes things. I think that's kind of like a bit of a disguise, but your drawing style will still be the same no matter what software you use, or it will give you a little jump, but then you're back to square one. When you master a software, or you master a medium, you know, I don't mean mastery as in like you're the best at it, I mean you're fluent at it. So if you're fluent in Photoshop, you know how to use Photoshop and you can use it without thinking, then there's no more you can climb on that in terms of software. Now you're going to be limited by your ability and your drawing style. Anyway, those were some thoughts. I think that's it. Yes, please subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the links in the description. I am doing some really interesting stuff over on animatorguild.com. That's my website. I've got a new store open and I am launching things. I'm launching cool stuff that you can buy to download. Stuff that's gonna really help you out with making animations and making artwork. So I suggest that you do that. And you know, I put a lot of work into these videos. I try and get them out regularly and stuff. If you want to show your appreciation, you can share the video with someone who you think is actually going to enjoy it and get something from it. And you can leave a comment down below, just, you know, telling me a fun fact about yourself, or, you know, something, you know, introduce yourself to me. I'd like to know who you are and that you're watching my videos. It's cool. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. I want to give so much thanks to Andre Shreves. He has helped me out with the editing of this video, and he's got a channel that I'd really like for you to check out and subscribe. He's an animator, he makes some great content, and I'm really looking forward to his next episode, so I think you should check him out.